All right, how we doing, y'all? We are starting a new series, Doc to Doc, giving you guys an idea of what's going on with chiropractic, what we do as chiropractors, both for content, both for our patients, and then also for chiropractic students. I'm so excited to get doing this with y'all, and we're just gonna get right into it. Like I said, this is mostly content for, like I said, our patients and then also chiropractic students alike. So joining me today is a very good friend of mine. She was on the seminar circuit with me when we were in chiropractic school. We'd always see each other at different seminars. Very good friend of mine, Dr. JBess Ruby. Her practice is in Little Rock, Arkansas. It's Embodiment Chiropractic. She graduated from Life University, spring of 22. Dr. JBess, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
so good to see you.
Absolutely. So go ahead, tell us a little bit more about yourself. I think I covered the basics, but give me an idea.
So I'm here out in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm not originally from here, but family moved here about 6 years ago. So this is home. And yeah, just been here opening up solo on my own after leaving school and just loving it, enjoying my family practice that I've put together. And yeah, just the ball's been rolling and we're just going for it.
All right, well, let's get going. And you really did a good job setting me up. I'm supposed to be the one setting you up today, but family practice, tell me about, like, what does that mean to you? Why did you decide to be a family practice?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to how chiropractic kind of found me. At 3 months old, my mom brought me to a chiropractor. I was completely covered in eczema. And she's like, I'm not going the steroid route with a 3-month-old. And so she carried me into a chiropractic office and she was like, do anything and something. And so that started my life in chiropractic. My mom ended up becoming the office manager there. And then I grew up there, would walk there from school and hang out there all afternoons. And then I was like, yep, this is what I'm doing. And just seeing the impact it made on families every day there at such a young age, a very impactful age. And then going to school and being like, yeah, I have to bring this to families. Like, this is where the core of it started for me, and this is where it needs to go.
Well, and that's so cool, because I know because I've obviously just opened up myself, in case anybody's wondering. I'm Dr. Alex DiFrancesco with Innately Chiropractic here in beautiful Grapevine, Texas. I probably should mention that, but hey, we're learning.
We're doing it.
But to get back to it, I also have a family practice here in Grapevine, and the reason that is so powerful for families, but for kids especially, because this is such a stressful time we're living in, and that's what I don't think people have ever really realized. There's so much more going on nowadays, not even just, you can say what you want politically, what have you. There's just so much going on, and life is more stressful than ever between technology. And what people don't seem to realize is how much of an effect that can have on your nervous system, which is really what we're working with as chiropractors,
Yes.
And your neurology can get stuck. I like to compare it very much to a computer. If you have a ton of apps and windows are open, and then you have a bunch of tabs going, and then Spotify's playing in the background, and then all of a sudden you're upset at the computer. Why is it slow? Why isn't it doing what I want it to do? It's because there's a lot going on, and eventually, if you put enough information into it, enough information overload, it'll freeze, which is something very similar to what we as human beings, we can get stuck in that fight or flight mode, and then everything that follows, it just is a cascade from there.
Oh, exactly. And it's just starting so much at a younger age than we've ever seen before. That's the biggest thing. It's starting off with moms having very stressful pregnancies. I mean, you're talking about coming out of 2020, especially when women weren't allowed to be with families through appointments and birth in general. And then you add in extra interventions into birth. And so we're just interrupting this natural birth process I've been doing for thousands of years. Yep. And now we're seeing the detriment of, like, okay, wow, we have increase in ASD diagnosis. We have increase in sensory in kids developing at multiple different ages, not just from early neurodevelopment, but like in our teens, people developing it. And so it's just, the more and more we're seeing is the neurological change that's happened because of just overwhelm of intervention from, like you said, technology, medical things, as well as information that's bombarding us, of having to make so many choices that we're freezing up, as well as our neurology is freezing up.
Yeah, I was listening to, a very good point. I was listening to Dr. Tony Ebel the other day, and he said, have you ever read the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting? And the joke that he made was, do you know who wrote it? It was Stephen King, because it's just a terrifying book. It's like you read this and it's like, oh, you're pregnant. And well, now it's all over. Your life is essentially over. People have woken up to the toxins that are in, just everything, between our foods and all of that. So people are aware of that. They're aware of stress from, from work and things of that nature. But what people are missing is, like you were saying, those birth interventions, how it's starting right from the jump where, while they're also in utero, but also when they come into this world, right off the bat, kids are getting subluxated, and right off the bat, they're behind the 8 ball. So, to kind of continue this conversation forward, something that I really, I'm going to pass the rock to you on this one is, I saw that you are a birth fit leader. Give me an idea, what does that mean to be a leader of birth fit, and what is it in general?
So birth fit was another thing that merged my two worlds. I come from a very athletic sports background with playing sports in college and being in a weight room, and that being a lot of my life. And then going into, okay, my chiropractic side, I want to see kids, I want to see families, da, da, da. And then to hear the words from Dr. Lindsay Matthews, well, Lindsay Cantu now, saying that birth is an athletic event and why aren't we training for it? And I was like, oh, okay, well, this just changed a lot of things for me. And because I always thought about that of oh, I want to get pregnant, I want to have kids one day and all this stuff. And I'm like, everything stops. I can't have my heart rate over 120, what? And then for her to blow me out of the water with their educational programs that I got into, of just teaching women what general strength and conditioning looks like through preconception all the way through postpartum care. So it gave you the entire umbrella of how women train in general for their cycle and how women can train through the trimesters of pregnancy, all 4 of them. And so with that, I was like, boom, I'm in. So you can get certified as a birth fit leader, which allows you to run workshops. It allows you to teach basic movement kind of classes. And then from there, you can become a birth fit coach if those are more for CrossFit coaches, personal trainers, people of that level that want to really take on programming, strength and conditioning for women in these phases. But it's just amazing. It was started by a chiropractor, so she gets the foundational understanding of the nervous system and uses a lot of applied polyvagal theory for training with different warm up and cool down activities that are used for mindfulness and just recentering your nervous system back down. And so I was like, boom, this is checking all my boxes, and I need to have this under my belt because this is not something that I can utilize for myself, but that I can teach other people and actually be very, very passionate about it to teach other women about how empowering birth can be and how empowering pregnancy can be. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it's just really cool because no matter how beautiful it is, no matter how you want to describe birth, in one way, shape, or form, it's a traumatic experience growing your own human. It is what it is to bring another human being into this world. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think something that's really cool for me to hear is the empowerment part of it. You shouldn't feel like I was saying with that book, sorry, you're pregnant, your life's over.
Yeah. It's there's so much more.
Absolutely. And people don't know. And that's the biggest thing. And that's what you and I are really hoping to do with this episode, is just letting people know. That's why we're doing this, things that we can't necessarily do table talk wise with our patients. We want people to know this stuff.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. And, like you were saying, or like we were saying earlier, birth is traumatic. And like we were saying, it is stressful, and it's starting earlier and earlier and earlier. And that umbilical cord is truly like an electrical cord between mother and child. And for that entire time, like you said, the 4 trimesters, the one person on planet Earth that truly understands what mom is going through is that child, because they are feeling every single bit of it, all the way down from what she's eating, how she's exercising, how she's feeling emotionally. They truly are feeling. That's why that bond is so tight and so precious, obviously, between mothers and their children. But physiologically speaking, they're the only people on earth that get it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And they're getting just exposed to all that. And that's also, I know that in your office, you also do insight scans. That's why HRV scanning on moms is awesome, because you can truly see where are they on sympathetic, parasympathetic, and how can we get them balanced in preparation for birth, but also know that leading up to birth, their HRV will drop a little bit.
Yep.
The increased resting heart rate, that will also play a factor. And so as they kind of like are coming, like kind of riding down lower on their HRV is when birth's going to start coming in. But that's what's so cool, is that we can track stress values in moms through pregnancy and also improve that through chiropractic care. So that helps. Okay, we are here for you as if you just want to look very surface level, we are here as your stress reliever through pregnancy. And then when you come on in, you get so much more.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and that's another thing, that's something that I definitely say a lot in my office is the last thing you want to do is guess. Last thing you want to do in chiropractic is guess. Last thing you want to do when you're pregnant is guess. And you certainly don't want somebody guessing who you're going to see, whether it's for, birth reasons or for a chiropractor. You don't want that person guessing, and you don't want to just have to take their word for it. So I think that's a great segue. You alluded to what we use in both of our offices with our CLA Insight scanners. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about those scanners, why we use them, and why chiropractic is it's so much more than just, the moving of a bone or just like cracking somebody's back. Why is this so much more?
Oh, so this could be like so big. This
could be the episode on all.
We'll package this into like a little present that we're delivering. So what I love, and I talk a lot to my practice members, is that we're scanning because yes, I love to hear from them how they're feeling, what's going on in their life, but ultimately I want a functional measurement of what's going on in the inside. I want to know organ system function. I want to know energy levels. I want to know, are we on the gas pedal? Are we on the brake? Where do we want to go? Yeah. I also love, I will talk all day long on a static EMG as well for muscle energy, because with that one, it gives them a greater, more superficial image of like, what are my compensation patterns? Where am I storing holding so much energy and tension? And also, where do I have zero stability? So it's a really great progression of nitty gritty in our thermal scans and our HRV, and then also getting a little bit more of a backup picture of postural muscle energy, that people can have a greater understanding and see that and know that, and then transfer that deeper information on our other two scans, looking at thermal and HRV. With those, I just love them because people get it. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I am feeling all these things and I'm having digestive issues. I'm like having fertility issues. I have headaches, migraines, but I didn't know I needed to tell you any of that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, here we are. Let's dig. Let's see a little bit more about it. And so that's why we always bring out our giant Merrick chart as well, and just being like, hey, we've got stuff going on in these areas. Are you experiencing any of this? Because then they also feel heard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And you and I have sat on the other side of that table as being, a practice member, being a patient. We know at some point you walk in like, really? Like, how do you know? It's like, fine, you don't have to take my word for it at all. The 3 scans that we utilize, both of us in our offices, like I said, for the CLA scanners, real quick, the HRV essentially gives you heart rate variability, gives you an idea of how well you're adapting and responding to stress. Thermography gives you an idea of how well your body is regulating itself. How well are your organs working? Where is your body allocating the majority of its blood supply? And then the EMG, very similar to an EKG, right? That's the efficiency of your heart muscles. So what we use EMG-wise is efficiency of your postural muscles. So like what Dr. JBess was alluding to, when you're just sitting there, how much energy are you using just to sit there, just to contend with gravity? And I have some people that come in 300, 400, 500% using 5 times the amount of energy just to sit there. They haven't gone to work yet. They haven't walked out of this office yet. They haven't even attempted to go to the gym yet, but they're using 5x times the amount of energy that they need to. So that's what we do, is we measure all of those things and we hit the reset button. What is the reset button? It's the chiropractic adjustment. We allow your nervous system to communicate with itself from your brain all the way down to your body, so you're able to heal naturally and efficiently from within.
Yes.
Did you have anything that you wanted to add, in that regard, just like why it's so important to get adjusted?
I think what's so important is that we've never needed more like regulation of our systems ever. Even like going through chiropractic school is a great example too. It's like going through any grad school program. We are driven and push and push and push to succeed, that we end up stressing ourselves out, overworking, talk about the most famous topic of burnout. Everyone's burnout. And so with that, it's just having a regulated nervous system. You're able to access the energies that you need. You're not allocating it to postural muscles. You're not pooling blood supply to different areas and not within your actual organ systems. Like we're not having great adaptability to stress. And so just being able to get under neurologically focused chiropractic care is the biggest game changer. And I think the biggest biohacking force that you could utilize. That's one of my biggest things. And we're in that phase right now where we're on the up and up of people like, how do I make myself the healthiest person I can be? Because if I can add life to my years, then that's all that matters. So the biggest thing is to be like, boom, I want a neurological focus chiropractor that's going to know and understand my system and also give me measurements that I am succeeding under care, because people want to know.
100%. And, people society has I don't know how we've gotten to this point, how we've shifted into thinking that a human being is not resilient or that you don't have power beyond, wildest measures. Like there's something in you, what created the universe, however you want to look at it, deemed you necessary to be here. Deemed you necessary to be here. That's what we're tapping into, is that great intelligence, that universal intelligence that created everything. Again, deemed you necessary right here, right now. That's what we're tapping into. That's what we're accessing through the nervous system, is your body's innate ability to heal, because it's been there longer than you can imagine. All we have to do is access it. That's what we do, especially neurologically based chiropractors, because we're, like you said, we're really getting down to it. We have measurements. You actually get to see it. Seeing is believing sometimes. And that's, like you said, that's what we're doing, is we're accessing that part of you and allowing it to come through. We're really creating the best version of yourself that was always there. Just need a little bit of help.
Exactly.
Well, that's great. Well, do you have anything more that we need to add on this?
I don't think so. That was like really detailed. I like that.
That was beautiful. So that's the first part of this episode. So you guys can stick around if you'd like. But the second part that me and Dr. JBess wanted to get into is mostly for chiropractic students who are going through it right now, because both her and I, absolutely, we are both 2 months essentially into our own practices. I graduated in December of 21, and Dr. JBess graduated in spring of 22. So we are fresh out. We're doing the thing, and we want to do this not only for our people, but for our other people, right? The people that are still in the trenches going through it in chiropractic school. So we'll keep it rolling here. Let's get right into it, Doc. Let's talk about marketing, how important it is, and when you should start marketing.
Marketing starts like the minute you're opening your own practice. Mine needs to shift. Like we need to shift everything. We need to know that your personal Instagram, if you don't have a business one, that turns into like your brand.
Yep.
If that's not something you want to go for, which I didn't necessarily do, is like, okay, cool. Well, then I'm now a lot more aware of what I'm posting. Then when I know I'm like, I've got name, I'm ready to go. I know where I'm going, but don't necessarily have a place or all that in mind. But my business page is made because I can start making content and creating for who I want to see, because nowadays everybody is in the social media world and people will go to your Instagram and like, someone at my open house who I just met, she's like, I didn't even partner with someone because they only had 80 followers. And I'm like, ooh, this is like the day and age of like, as much as I'm not a social media person, like I had to just like dive headfirst into it, because that matters to a lot of people, and it matters for small businesses for growth.
Yes.
And so marketing, it's like dive into social media, And then you better be, once you're in a community, once you've graduated and you're like, see, you're actually in your zone, go out and meet people.
Yep, absolutely.
Because the more you can show your face and talk the talk and build relationships, the more you're like, maybe that person's not coming to the door, but they're going to tell that next person that they know a chiropractor.
Yep.
So it just talking has been a huge thing for me.
Yes.
What about you, Alex? What do you think?
Well, you know what? Social media is, I like to say that it is our generation's yellow pages. What would our parents do? They would find a phone book, they look it up, like, oh, chiropractor, boom, that one. And that was essentially all they had. Then they had to go and see, like, is this person normal? Yeah. We are blessed, and I guess, depending on how you want to look at it, cursed with social media. That's how people are vetting you. Like, does this person seem normal? Like, do I really want to go in there? Where is it? What does the office look like? People are judging you right from the jump off your social media. That is your first handshake to them, and it's virtual, right? I know we both have a similar mentor with Dr. Paulo Fili with Samurai. Something that he challenged me on is, if I looked at your social media page right now, whether it was personal or business, would I know that you're into chiropractic? Would I know you're a chiropractor or studying to become a chiropractor? And he looked around the room and he goes like, let's take a look at some phones. And he looked at 4 or 5, and he's like, 5 out of 5 of you, I would not know you're a chiropractor. So why would other people know that? So it's a great point that you immediately become your brand. Like you said, the second you're going to open up, marketing starts yesterday. You're already behind. Get going. It is paramount that you have to start, and that's the easiest thing. Start your brand, start social media, get going. And then you really have to start moving into the next part, which is, where should I set up? What city do I want to practice in? What city do I want to live in? What city do I want to visit? Where do you see yourself? Because the sooner you can find that space that you're going to call home, the faster you can move towards getting a lease, the faster you can sign that lease, the faster build out starts, the faster when you're going to be starting. Now you can start getting people, and you can start scheduling them. That's something for me, that's something that I probably would have changed. I would have started that much sooner on the marketing side. That's something that I don't think people talk about as much. We go to these different seminars, and a lot of times we go to seminars with people that are at least, 5 years out, 10 years out, 15 years out, and they kind of romanticize where you and I are at, the front lines starting right from scratch. It's like, oh, I remember that. Like, oh, it was the good old days. You and me, we're like, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, like I am like crawling in a trench.
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm good, But yeah, that would be something that I would tell people right from the jump. Look into BNI groups. Look into joining, if you know where you're going to be, join your local chamber of commerce. Yeah. Join different things. Get out, get connected, go talk to people. Because especially if you're going to go somewhere else and people don't know you, they don't want to talk to you.
Oh yeah. And that's like where kind of like I'm at. Like, I'm not from Little Rock. Yep. My family's moved here. My boyfriend, he is from here. So that helps a little bit. So he has a sense of community here, but it's hard when you show them to a town that you are not necessarily from, and then be like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, well, you're not from here. And that's like a totally real like feeling and some experience I've had. But like you said, like you need to get in groups. Like for my ladies that are watching this right now, my biggest networking source has been finding a women's only co-working space. It's been unreal. And if you want to look into it, so you can kind of see like another thing, a lookalike to look for, it's called the Nest Little Rock. It's only for women. You buy a membership, and you can either buy a membership for only going to their events, or you can buy a membership that you get like a certain days per month to work there and do the events. And it's been so much fun because I get to go to all the events, pay a monthly rate. And then also I work there once a week for a couple hours and just get to meet other women. So that's huge. And that's a couple things I've told a few other friends who are opening in new cities. I'm like, co-working spaces are opening everywhere. Yep. Like find them, because that's where you're going to find people, business focused professionals that not only are you networking with business wise, possible barters and trades, which is really great, and also finding patients and people that will talk about you in a very like open light because they're like, oh my gosh, I see her working.
Yep. Absolutely.
So that's been huge for, I mean, anyone, but I just especially know with like ladies, those women's only co-working spaces are really cool.
Yep. And to even tag along with that, I know, there's a lot of mom groups, like,
Yeah.
women really do. They run this world, right? Men might think it, we might be in a couple positions of power, but like, no, women are running this thing, right? Like, I get a lot of people. I actually had somebody come in the other day and I'm like, all right, so Mr. So-and-so, like, why are you in today? He goes, I have no idea. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't. He goes, my wife told me to be here. Perfect. I can work with that. So like you said, women run the household, right? So
Yes.
those mom groups on Facebook are huge.
Facebook mom groups.
They're, exactly. As long as you're a female, they're most likely going to let you in. Guys, listen, apply. I would say 3/4 of them let me in. They're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Just, don't say anything crazy, right? But like, just at least ask, because you'll never know the answer if you do not ask. And you need to talk to people. My goodness, you have to go out, and as awkward as it is, stick your hand out and say, hi, my name is.
Yep.
I like your shirt. I like your shoes. Man, isn't it nice weather? Just find a reason to go talk to somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. That's huge.
Absolutely. So when, Doc, when did you start looking for your space? When did you know Little Rock and Embodiment was going to have a home?
Okay. So my story is like a little bit different of like where I'm at, where I'm opening at and all that. So I did my internship here for my last 6 months of school, with Dr. John Vincent, and he is unbelievable. He's like one of the only other like pediatric perinatal chiropractors in the area. Well, one of like the most like prominent ones. And so that's why I was like, yep, I want to be with you. I want to learn from you. Like, you have all my gems that I want to just like take in. Mm-hmm. So that's how I ended up back in Little Rock to be like back with family. So I knew I was going to open here for quite a while. Yeah, I would say. And then, but I didn't really know like what it looked like for me to open in the first place. I knew that was always my goal. I was like going back and forth. I'm like, do I want to be an associate? I'm like, nah, no, I really don't want to. But the biggest thing is that I grew a really great, like tight-knit relationship with my preceptor doc. And he works half days because he also has 4 kids and family, and they do homeschool, and he also runs a CrossFit gym. And so he's busy. And he had a separate entrance and a back room. And he was like, I would rather you start here and grow your business and work half days and network the other half of the day, or adjust somewhere else the other half of the day, and just get going, and then go like spread your wings. So I took him up on it. I was like, awesome. Like, this is someone who's here, another chiropractor who's like, boom, go and do it. I mean, he's been here practicing in Little Rock for 14 years. And so our marketing strategies are completely different. He's mainly referral based. So so I kind of just like slid in there, and I was like towards the end of my internship, I was looking at some locations and nothing really felt right, and had a couple offers to buy a couple practices, but I was like, this just like doesn't feel right. And then he's like, hey, open here. And I was like, I'll take it. One of my really great mentors, Dr. Lauren Kodak, who runs SpeakOut, she is all about low overhead. She's like, if you can do it with a portable table and a computer, do it. So I kind of took that little bit of advice and ran with it. I'm like, cool, if he's giving me an entrance in the back room, all I need is a table. So yeah, that's where I'm at. It's a little bit more than a table. Yeah, I will say it's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. But yeah, so that's kind of been like what my location, like hunting, looked like. It's in a kind of the part of town I want to be in. Potentially I might want to be a little bit farther out west. But yeah, so I'm just sitting tight here for at least a year to see what happens, and then spread my wings and find a place.
That's really great. And something that I know, something that I really wanted to touch on, just because you and me are, we came right out and we're starting almost immediately. that was our decisions. There's nothing wrong with going and doing an associateship. There's nothing wrong with going and being an independent contractor, but you need to do your homework and you need to do it early. And you need to do it. You just can't take somebody's word for it, because I know I'll speak for myself. I think I'm speaking for you also. It hasn't been easy to this point, but that doesn't mean that it hasn't been worth it. It's been extremely empowering being a small business owner. It's kind of weird to even say sometimes that that's what we are, right? So, and then like I said, to go off of when you should start looking, you need to start looking. If you're the second, like you said, the second you're going to start your own practice, you need to start looking now. You need to start looking yesterday, right? It is time to go. My story, I started about a year out from when I was going to graduate, try 8, because we have, 10 trimesters, try 8. I'm like, all right, what state? Try 9, what city? Try 10, let's try to have a space locked down. That was kind of my progression. In case, students, in case y'all don't know this, realtors are free. They don't get paid until you pay them, the landlord, but then the landlord's the one who ends up paying. You never pay them.
Yeah.
Go talk to people. I had 3 different realtors for 3 different areas of Texas. We had one that was doing Grapevine, South Lake, Colleyville. We had one that was doing Frisco, Plano, and then we had one that was doing Carrollton and Louisville. So utilize realtors. They don't get paid until you pay, and it's not even your money. That's not even direct. So go talk to people. You have to start figuring it out now. You have to start looking into starting an LLC or an S corp. You have to start looking into these things. You have to start now, because the one thing that I wish I could do differently, and that'll be kind of what we wrap up with, is what you would do differently. Start earlier. Start asking questions. And if somebody doesn't give you an answer, go find it. There's just no excuse. You have to go get these answers and then vet them. Make sure that it's actually the right answer. What would be something that you would probably go back and redo if you could?
I think I'm very similar to you. I think I would have started earlier, because I was like, you took a lot more time than I did. I would probably say that I threw this together. I almost swore, but I threw this together in probably about 3 months, which was like a whirlwind and very hard, and very overwhelming, but also very rewarding when the doors opened and people were walking in. So it's like, either way, you just got to pick your heart. That's the biggest thing. Choose your heart.
Yeah.
And I think another thing is that I'm huge on, if I don't really understand something, then it's going to frustrate me. And so my biggest thing with people is the thing that you think you're going to be frustrated by the most, for me, was finance stuff and understanding finances and taxes and business things. Hit that head on first, because, and also know it, find somebody, find an accountant, find somebody who will sit you down and talk to you like nothing, so then you can learn everything and understand all of your things. So that was the big thing that I was like, everything's coming together, but I have no clue what's going to happen on the money side, the finance side, how does this all work? And then I sat down with a really good friend of mine, and he was like, cool, we're breaking down everything nothing. And I said, please, because that's the biggest thing, is how empowering is it that you can be like, wow, I now understand how my finances work. I know how to run them. I understand my own QuickBooks, which everyone will get to that. And so I'm in control of all of my money, and I know what it all means.
Yep.
You have to know what your numbers mean, and that is huge. And especially out in the beginning, if you know that first, then boom, you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly. Rich, a book that, book suggestion for all y'all out there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
The author talks about financial literacy, and the only difference is, did you put in the time to understand what it means? Because the people that take advantage of taxes, that take advantage of the tax code, that take advantage of finances, the only difference between them and the people that don't are the people that put in work for it. Just like everything else in life. Do you want to know it? You got to start somewhere. And nobody wants to do something that they're bad at, but you can only be bad at it for so long.
Yeah.
Even if you just put in the bare minimum, if you continue to do it, eventually you'll be better than when you started. And that's all you can ask for. Be patient with yourself. You just have to be better than you were yesterday. You know, something that'll go quick, and we'll kind of wrap it up on this, is self-talk for me. It'll go quick for you when you're starting it yourself. You know, it's an exercise I really like to use is think of who you love most in this world. Think about how you would talk to them. Now think about how you talk to yourself in your own mind. Now think about that person. And would you say those things to that person? No, absolutely not. So why do you say it to yourself? You know, so that's something, you know, we'll end it on there, but like self-talk for me has been really big. You're doing good. Just be better than yesterday, one day at a time.
Yep, definitely. The biggest thing too is just knowing that if you're the one choosing to open and do it, then you're supposed to open and do it. And if you are freaking out while you're doing it, then keep on going. And that's the best part, and how I've lived a lot of my life and made a lot of my choices, is that if someone's saying I can't do it, then I'm going to do it. And if I'm terrified of what I'm doing, then I'm absolutely on the right course, because I'd rather live on my edge than be really comfortable.
Yeah, we're ending on that one. That was too good. That was beautiful. Well, you know, hey, Doc, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for doing this. You know, this is something that I'm going to keep doing with different doctors. You know, I've got really cool friends, and this is, I think, an example of that. You know, Dr. JBess is phenomenal at what she does. And I just want to put it out there. Like I said, not only for our practice members, but also for chiropractic students alike. We want you guys to know this. We love this stuff. You know, and there's content everywhere. So why aren't we making it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, that was Dr. JBess Ruby with Embodiment Chiropractic in Little Rock, Arkansas. I'm your host, Dr. Alex DiFrancesco with Innately Chiropractic in beautiful Grapevine, Texas. Till next time, y'all.